When I was younger, I participated a lot in hookup culture. I was curious and excited to explore all different sides of life. And although hookup culture and although no hookup is created equal, I have now come to the conclusion that hookup culture is definitely damaging for everyone involved because because of the way that it is a tool to fake intimacy. Now, if what you want is literally to have sex, then hooking up does wonders. I think there's a time and place for participating in this for sure. So I'm not in any way condemning casual sex or prostitution at all. However, it has been my experience, both with myself and other people, people tend that what people tend to actually want when hooking up is not the sex itself for sex's sake, but rather to feel closer to someone. I think many of us feel very alone and disconnected and that we're craving intimacy. However, many of us might be scared of connecting deeply with someone. We might even we might not even know how to connect deeply with someone. But what we do know is that we have access to a hookup. It's so normalized and encouraged and relatively easy. Like no matter how unattractive you might think you are, if you ask enough people, eventually someone will sleep with you. It's a numbers game after all. And the reward for winning this game is, as Dr. Stephen Diamond puts it in The Psychology of Sex, that sex is a way of lessening our alienation, isolation, and aloneness by physical connection with, penetrating or being penetrated by another person at the most primal level of existence. Sex, sex substantiates, humanizes, and incarnates existence. It produces joy, love, comfort, affection, and sometimes ecstasy. And as much as the act of having sex can produce the feeling of love, affection, and intimacy, you don't actually have it. You're faking it. A friend of mine put it super well recently. He said that when he hooked up with girls, in the 15 minutes after they finished, he felt in a way that they were together, like a couple, that they were laying there and actually that they were in love and close and that like open with each other. But then it doesn't take long before reality sets in and suddenly you feel strange and uncomfortable because you're naked in bed with someone you don't really know. It's like you told something too revealing to a stranger at a party. You want to get out of there ASAP. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I do feel strongly about this, and I've come to the conclusion that hooking up is not a very good way to compensate for the lack of intimacy in your life. But it seems like the number of reports from studies on casual sex are mixed. Some show that both men and women feel depressed, used, and lonely after hookups, but others find that casual sex promotes more positive emotions than negative ones. And in a study of 832 university students, only 26% of women compared with half of men felt positive after hookups. Nearly half of women and 26% of men felt negatively about the experience. And to me, this inconsistency between the genders are not weird. It's not weird that women would report feeling less pleasure and more pain in hooking up, because after all, it is still stigmatized to an extent for women to participate in hookup culture. And in a way, that is the aspect that I like about this sexual liberation that we are currently living through. When sex as a concept in our society has been so demonized and still is in so many ways, the sexual liberation movement seems heaven sent. I think especially for women, this is one of the first time in our modern history that women's sexuality is not shunned and considered non-existent. I even remember still sometimes encounter attitudes that sort of mystify or wholly reject women as sexual beings. We apparently don't want to have sex or watch porn, according to some people, which is hilarious, but nevertheless what some people think. And so in a way, I love hookup culture. I love how it's helping liberating women from a prison of having to be pious, coy, and saving our virginity for something. Like, it's liberating. But what we got now is that everyone is just sort of sleeping around and being praised for it, right? Like when you break up with a partner, you're encouraged to sleep with someone to get over them. Dating apps make hookups a lot more accessible. Grindr especially is insane, by the way, what the fuck? And I'm not sure if this is just where I'm at, but it feels like, at least it did growing up, that sleeping around and being emotionally disconnected was cool. It was like you won the game if you didn't catch feelings for the person you were with. And the person who did catch feelings were, in a way, pathetic and a little lame, maybe. But in this way, maybe the issue isn't really the sex itself, but in its desperation. Like, if you go out and you're truly at peace with yourself and you're just enjoying your evening with friends, you meet someone you really connect with and you end up sleeping with them, then go. Enjoy your life, for God's sake. You're probably gonna have a nice experience even if you never see this person again. But if what you're trying to do is escape from your depression, loneliness, or discomfort by sharing a bed with a stranger, which I'm suspecting is the case for most hookups, then don't. I think it can make you feel even worse than you originally did. To me, there's something extremely off-putting when I think about the people that I've slept with, who I've given access to this extremely intimate part of my life. And I hate that they go around with this, completely undeserving of it. So I don't participate in hookup culture anymore. I've found a lot of peace and solace in celibacy, and I'd only want to share intimate things like sex when it's earned. When a proper emotional bond with respect, love, and trust is built with a person. And what I've found is that paradoxically, not sleeping around makes me feel less alone. When I was chasing intimacy in my teenage years, I was desperate to feel close to someone, that I needed my fix in any way I could get it. But every time the supposed intimacy that I had faded away, the reality of a lack of an actual relationship set in, and it felt more lonely than ever, to be honest. And now, on the other hand, I know how to self-soothe. I know how to reach out to spend time with the people that actually love me, and I know how to enjoy intimacy with myself. And this kind of means that I very rarely feel lonely like I used to. I'm not going to sit here and claim that I never do, but I definitely know that hooking up with strangers isn't going to fix the issue at all.